Look, we've all been there. You see something on the news, some injustice that makes your blood boil. You post about it, you march, you scream until your voice is gone, you think, this is it, this is the moment everything changes. And for a hot second, it feels like it might. But then, it doesn't. The momentum fades, the news cycle moves on, and you're left wondering, what happened? Do people just not care? But what if I told you it's not about caring? It's about being systematically exhausted. The system, the powers that be, whatever you want to call it, has this quiet genius. It's not a conspiracy theory with dudes in a smoky room, it's a design. A design meant to keep us tired, distracted by our own lives and fighting with each other over the small stuff. The goal is simple, keep us so busy treading water that we never have the energy to rock the boat. It's a feature, not a bug. They want you worried about your rent, arguing with your uncle on Facebook about whether a protest was polite enough, and doom-scrolling through celebrity drama, because a population that's drained and divided can't unite to challenge the big picture. That's how the real power structures stay untouched, generation after generation. This isn't a new phenomenon, it's a playbook that's been perfected for over a century. And tonight, we are going to break down that playbook. We're going to expose the 5-stage cycle of protest and suppression that has been used time and time again to defang every major movement for change. From the fight for the 8-hour workday to Black Lives Matter, the script is almost identical. Once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. And understanding the game is the first step to changing the rules. So grab your notebook, because class is in session. This is the hidden cycle of protest and suppression. Every major movement starts with a spark. It's that one moment, that one story, that one video that cuts through the noise and makes an injustice impossible to ignore. It's Rosa Parks refusing to give up her seat. It's the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire exposing horrific labor conditions. It's a video of a man being murdered by the police in broad daylight. This spark doesn't just create anger, it creates a moral clarity that's so powerful, it pulls people out of their homes and into the streets. Suddenly it's not a niche issue, it's everyone's problem. The numbers swell from dozens to thousands, then tens of thousands. It feels electric, spontaneous, unstoppable. But here's the thing, the system is watching. In this early phase, they play it cool. They let the small gatherings happen. It's strategic. They're collecting data, running facial recognition on the crowd, identifying the leaders, and gauging the public's temperature. Think about the early sit-ins at segregated lunch counters. The police were there, but often just observing, letting the white mob do the dirty work. They were assessing the threat level. Is this a flash in the pan, or is this the real deal? They're using this phase to build a file on the movement before it even knows it's a movement. This initial tolerance is a calculated risk. They know a heavy-handed crackdown at this stage could backfire, turning a small fire into an inferno and creating martyrs. So they allow the pressure to vent a little. They let the marches proceed down pre-approved routes. They let the chants echo. It gives the illusion of freedom, of a healthy democracy at work. But, make no mistake, it's a managed burn. They are monitoring the wind, mapping the terrain, and getting their bigger hoses ready, just in case this fire decides to spread. Okay, so the fire is spreading. The movement is gaining traction, it's on the nightly news, and your grandma is asking you about it. This is when the system shifts from passive observation to active sabotage. Welcome to Phase 2, the smoke campaign. The goal here isn't to put out the fire, not yet. It's to choke the public support that fuels it. The primary weapon, the media narrative. Suddenly, the conversation isn't about the injustice anymore. It's about the tactics of the protesters. Are they being too loud? Are they blocking traffic? Did someone break a window? Did you hear one of them said a naughty word? They find the most radical-looking person in a crowd of 10,000, put a camera in their face, and frame them as the spokesperson for the entire movement. They create a caricature. Remember how the media, and even the government, worked overtime to paint Martin Luther King Jr. not as a Nobel Peace Prize-winning minister, but as a dangerous communist-sympathizing radical? The FBI literally sent him a letter suggesting he kill himself. That's not an accident, it's a strategy. It's about shifting the focus from, why are they protesting, to who are these people, and why are they so angry and inconvenient? Once they've muddied the message, they start to seed division. They amplify fringe voices within the movement to make it look fractured and disorganized. They create and promote counter-protests to create a both sides narrative, even if one side is a handful of people and the other is 500,000. Look at Occupy Wall Street. It was a powerful, unified message against economic inequality. But the narrative quickly became, they don't have a clear message. They're just a bunch of dirty hippies who don't know what they want. They turned a laser beam of a message into a disco ball of confusion, eroding public sympathy and making it easy for people on the sidelines to tune out. So the smoke campaign has confused the public, but the core activists, the true believers, are still out there. They haven't given up. The movement persists. This is when the system decides playtime is over. Welcome to Phase 3, the breaking point. The goal is no longer to discredit, it's to dismantle. And honestly, the primary tool is fear. This is when the velvet glove comes off, and you see the iron fist. The police who were just monitoring before now show up looking like they're about to invade another country. We're talking riot gear, armored vehicles, tear gas, rubber bullets, LRAD sound cannons, the works. The whole point is to raise the personal cost of participation to an unbearable level. It's one thing to go to a weekend march, it's another thing to go when you know you might come home with a felony charge, a broken bone, or permanent lung damage from chemical agents. This escalation is deliberate. It's meant to scare off the soft supporters, the students, the parents, the people with jobs they can't afford to lose. The mass arrests aren't just about clearing the streets, they're about clogging the legal system and draining the movement's resources and energy with bail funds and court dates that stretch on for years. Look at the 1968 Democratic National Convention in Chicago. Anti-war protesters were met with such brutal, indiscriminate violence by the police that an official investigation later called it a police riot. Or look at the Standing Rock protests against the Dakota Access Pipeline. Peaceful water protectors were met with attack dogs, water cannons in freezing temperatures, and concussion grenades. The images are shocking, and that's the point. They're a warning. The message from the state becomes crystal clear: we will hurt you, we will ruin your life. Is this cause really worth it? And for many the risk becomes too great, the numbers start to dwindle. The crackdown worked. The crowds are gone. The cameras have left. The core activists are exhausted, traumatized, and tied up in legal battles. The movement is on life support. This is where the system performs its final, most brilliant trick. Welcome to Phase 4, the quiet burial. This phase has two moves, absorption and erasure. First, absorption. To appease the lingering public sympathy, the system offers a symbolic, partial concession. It's a piece of legislation that's watered down in committee, a commission to study the problem, or a corporate statement promising to do better. Think about the massive labor strikes of the late 19th and early 20th centuries. People died fighting for an 8-hour workday. Eventually they got it, but it came alongside laws that heavily restricted union power, effectively neutering the very organizations that won the victory. Or look at the aftermath of the 2020 protests. We heard a chorus of promises for police reform. What did we get? In many places, police budgets actually increased. The George Floyd Justice in Policing Act stalled and died in the Senate. The system absorbs the language of the movement, reimagining policing, while fundamentally changing nothing. It's a masterclass in looking like you're doing something while doing nothing at all. Then comes the second move, erasure. The narrative gets rewritten. The state violence is downplayed or justified. The protesters are remembered not for their bravery, but for their disruption. The original injustice that sparked the whole thing is quietly forgotten. The history books will mention the march, but they'll leave out the part about the police dogs and the fire hoses. They'll build a statue of the sanitized, non-threatening version of the leader decades later, once everyone who fought alongside them is gone. The movement is neutralized, its demands buried, and its history rewritten to serve the status quo. The fire is officially out. So the protest is over. The concessions were minimal, the history is being rewritten, and the system that created the problem is still firmly in place. What happens now? We enter the final, longest, and perhaps most important phase of the cycle, the intermission. This is the waiting room. It's the period of quiet that falls between the great upheavals. The collective energy that fueled the movement dissipates and turns inward. People go back to their lives, not because they've forgotten or stopped caring, but because they have to survive. The focus shifts from the systemic to the personal. You have to pay rent, get the kids to school, deal with your car breaking down, manage your own mental and physical health after the trauma of the struggle. The exhaustion is profound, not just physical but emotional and spiritual. The hope that felt so real just a few months ago now feels naive. A cynicism can set in, a feeling of, what was it all for? This is the phase where the system fully recovers and reinforces itself, while the people are left to pick up the pieces of their own lives. And this is the whole point. The system doesn't need to win a decisive victory, it just needs to outlast you. It has infinite patience and resources. It can wait. It knows that as long as people are trapped in this cycle of personal survival, they won't have the bandwidth to organize on a mass scale again, so we all sit in this waiting room tending to our own wounds, knowing the fundamental problems haven't been solved. We are just waiting, whether we know it or not, for the pressure to build to an unbearable point once more, for the next spark to ignite the next fire, and for the whole damn cycle to begin again. So, why does it feel like nothing ever fundamentally changes? Why do we fight the same battles our grandparents fought? It's not because people don't care, it's not because of apathy. If you take one thing away from this, let it be this. People are not apathetic, they are exhausted. The system's greatest defense isn't riot police or propaganda, it's the soul-crushing grind of modern life. It's the economic precarity that keeps you one paycheck away from disaster. It's the political theater that distracts us with meaningless culture wars. It's the personal crises that demand all of our attention, all of the time. This constant low-grade state of emergency fragments our focus, and a fragmented population cannot build sustained long-term power. The system is designed to make you feel isolated in your struggle, to make you feel like you're the only one who can't keep up. It wants you to believe that your burnout is a personal failing, not a political outcome. It's a brilliant, silent defense mechanism. It ensures that by the time we have the energy to look up and see the big picture, we're already too drained to do anything about it. We're kept in a state of perpetual triage, too busy putting out the fires in our own kitchens to ever challenge the arsonist. But understanding this cycle is the first step to breaking it. Recognizing that your exhaustion is a shared condition, not just a personal problem, is a radical act. It's the beginning of building the community, the resilience and the mutual support needed to outlast the system's waiting game. The goal isn't just to create a spark, it's to build a fire that can't be put out, one that can sustain itself through the smoke campaigns and the crackdowns. Because the system is betting on you to get tired and go home. Our job is to prove them wrong.